Hey guys, day 3, math assessment practice. Get your pencils, paper, and calculator out and ready to go. You have 60 seconds starting now. Alright, which point is needed to create a rectangle? I'm assuming you all know what a rectangle is, so the point goes about right there. We just need to figure out which one of those points represents that. The only trick here is this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. You always start with your x coordinate first and your y coordinate second, so this would be 3, comma 2, which is our choice, C in this case. Question 18, ready, set, 60 seconds, go. Alright, here we go. What is true about the stem and leaf plot? So we have lots of statements here. We need to figure out what this stem and leaf plot actually means. So we have the stem 14 and the leaf 1. What it really says is we've got 141. That is going here. We've got 143, but we've got 3 of those, so there's 143 times 3 times of them, so there's actually 3 students, or 3 six number of books have, or students have read 143 books. This one says there's only one student who read 155 books. There's a student that read 162, 165, 167. So that's kind of how you read a stem and leaf plot. So let's read the statement, see which one works. Most students read about 141 books. Well, looking at that, I see one student, here it is again, that read 141 books. Is that most? I don't think so. So I'm going to cross off A. And then I read statement 2. The least amount of books read was 143. Again, I go over here and I say, well, there's 3 people that read 143 books. That is not the least amount of books read by a single person. So we're going to cross that off. 3 students read 143 books. Well, going back to that 143 again, certainly that looks like it could be the correct answer because there's actually 3 that are 143. So that's probably it. We're going to check letter D here. At least 10 students read more than 180 books. Well, technically we have one student who read 184, one who read 186, one who read 187. That is only 3 students that read more than 180, so I'm going to cross off choice D. The selection in this case is letter C. Question 19, guys, here we go. All right, here we go. LaShay spent $200 on back-to-school items. How much money did she spend on shoes? Well, the $200 is so I'm going to put this over here. The $200 is the whole pie. So that's all she spent. This pie chart breaks it down into how much she spent on each of these items. Now the total here, that's $200. So if we looked at just shoes, 18% of the $200 is what she spent on shoes. So 18% of 200. So we need to take our calculators, because they are allowed here. If we change 18% into decimal form, that is 0.18 times 200. When I do that on my calculator, 0.18 times 200 equals, I'm coming up with $36 in this case. And does it make sense? If that's just this portion of the pie, is that about $36? And I would argue that yes, that's pretty darn close. So the choice here, letter C. All right, question 20. Here we go. 60 seconds. You're on the clock. Starting now. All right, guys, got a hard one here. Charles created a function table with a 2 operational rule. If he multiplies by 3, I'll kind of underline that number, then adds 5, what's the missing number? So I'm not sure how much time you've spent on these, but what they're asking you to do here is, if I have some unknown number, we'll call that unknown number x, and I multiply that unknown number by 3, and the reason I know that is it says he multiplies by 3, so here's the unknown number multiplied by 3, then adds 5 plus 5. That function, no matter what I put in, so if I put in 1, I get 3 times 1 plus 5 is 8. So that's substituting in 1. Think of it this way. If I substitute in this 9 right here, 3 times 9, so I'm going to kind of move that over to here. 3 times 9 is plus 5 equals 3 times 9 is 27 plus 5 is 32. That's how I get this 32 in the output part. So I came up with the function by kind of reading the statement. That being said, I need to figure out, well, what number did I put in to get 95? So we got to set up some algebra. Down here I go 3x plus 5 equals 95, and that comes from this output here. So in a sense, I got to solve for x. I'm going to go ahead and solve it. So how do I solve an algebra problem like this? I subtract 5 from both sides. Whoops. Subtract 5, giving me, and we're running out of room here, we got 3x equals 90. Divide both sides by 3, and I'm going to get x equals 30. In other words, 30 goes in here. My choice is C. And I'm going to spend one more second on this. If I just looked at the flat out trends and I go, okay, I'm going from 9 to 13 to 18. Which two answers over here make absolutely no sense? Well, that one makes none. This one makes none. So even if you're just looking at the trends, you would maybe narrow it down to 19 and 30. But the proof mathematically is right here. Get ready, guys. Question number 21. Ready, set, go. Alright, frequency table. Using the frequency table below, what percent of students watch TV less than 2 hours? So we look at the table, let's read what this means. This less than sign, less than 1 hour, 5 students watch it for less than an hour. 9 students watch it between 1 and 2 hours. So what I've done is identified that there are 14 students who watch TV for less than 2 hours. Great, but how do I get that into a percent? Here's the tricky part. To get a percent, I need 14 students on top of some fraction, and I need the total number of students on bottom. The total number is not given to you clearly in the problem, but so you can get it, we just need to add up the total number of students. So 5 plus 9 plus 7 plus 4. 5 plus 9 being 14, add 7 more is 21, add 4 more is 25. So really what I need to do is there's 14 out of 25 students is equal to some unknown percent over 100, and I can solve that math problem. There's a couple different ways. Some of you may know if I just take 14 divided by 25, I get the decimal here of 0.56. which technically, when you convert that to percent, is 56%. Or you could do the cross multiply and divide part, and you will come up with the exact same number. But the bottom line is here we have 56%, which is our 14 students out of 25. You think about it, half of 25 is 12 and a half, so about 56% would be 14 students. And that's where we come up with those numbers. Got one more stem and leaf plot to do. Got 60 seconds, I apologize. Starting now. Alright, by now you're probably an expert at stem and leaf plots, so let's see if we can read this chart again. So I would approach the question by reading the statements and seeing which one matches. So it says the highest collection amount was 9. Well, what they're trying to get you to bite on here is that the biggest number on the right side is 9. That is not correct. In fact, CD collection here, this actually means this is 201, for instance. So 201, 207, 209. That being said, that is definitely not the highest number of CDs. So statement A is out. 2 people have 44 CDs. Again, they're trying to get you to bite on the idea that somewhere in here this 44 is something, and really this one just does not make sense. The least amount collected was 201. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Remember, when I go back to this top line, this actually says 201, 207, 209. This is 210, 212, 224, 224, 228, and so on. So right now, 201 looks like the least number. So C looks correct. I always double check. The range of scores is 6. Well, the range is the difference between the smallest number and the largest number. So the smallest number being 201 and the largest number being 237. That gives us a range of 36, and that is nowhere near close to 6. So statement D is out. Our choice in this case, letter C. 2 more left. Question 23. 60 seconds. Ready, go. Alright, what's the volume of a rectangular prism? The equation for volume of any rectangular prism is length times width times height in really no particular order. So we don't necessarily need to know what's the length, what's the width, and what's the height. We can label it if we want, 8 inches being the length, 4 inches being the width, 6 inches being the height. I basically have to multiply these three numbers together to find the volume. So I'm going to take 8 inches times 6 inches times 4 inches. If you have your calculator, give that a try. 8 times 6 times 4. My calculator reads 192 inches cubed. I always do the problem first, see if it matches one of the answers. It clearly does. That usually indicates that you are correct. Letter C. Last question, guys. Question number 24. 60 seconds starting now. Alright, line segment AC represents what part of the circle? So we look at AC, so we're talking about this segment right here. We want to know, what is that? Well, circumference is the line that goes around the circle. So AC is clearly not the circumference. The radius, now the only problem I have with this drawing is it looks slightly askew, but let's just assume this is the center of the circle. The radius would be any point from the center drawn to the outside of the circle. So BD, for instance, is a radius. BA is a radius. BC is a radius. AC is not a radius. Now, if we assume that this is the center of the circle, the diameter has to go through the center of the circle. So diameter is more than likely the correct answer. Now, if that was not the center of the circle, just to give you an example, if we had point E out here in space, and we drew from AE, a chord is any other line drawn from 2 points on a circle that does not go through the center of that circle. So AE in this case would be what we call a chord. Just so you know, I'm pretty sure diameter is the correct answer here.